The next thing we need to do is to set the scale for our drawing. We know we're going to be printing off on A3, so we need to make sure that the drawing that I've created here, and here's one that I've previously created, will now fit onto our A3 piece of paper with our title block. So if I just quickly go back to the title block that we've already created, we need to make sure that our drawing fits into this rectangle here. So if we check the size of this rectangle, I can simply go to the Home tab. I can either measure or insert a dimension. So let's put a dimension in. So if I check on the horizontal width, I can see it's 247, and again I'm going to go back and put in a horizontal length, so from there across to there, and we can see that that's 400. So in other words, I need to check that my drawing fits inside a rectangle that is 400 width and 247 high. What I now need to do is to make sure that my drawing would fit inside that rectangle. So to do this, I'm going to draw a rectangle. What I need to make sure is that I put my rectangle on the non-plot layer. If you remember, we're going to layer properties, the non-plot layer is that layer that doesn't get plotted or printed. So just to show you here, if I go on to my layer properties, non-plot layer, you can see it's got the little circle, it won't get printed, and it's always useful on your drawings to have a non-plot layer. So I can then close that. So I'm going to go to the Home tab, I'm going to click on Rectangle. It doesn't matter where you draw it, so I'm simply going to draw my rectangle at 0, 0 to start off with, and then I'm going to draw a 400 by 247, which is the rectangle that I wanted. So when I click on OK, I can then see my rectangle. What I'm now going to do is to create this as a block, so I can keep inserting this into the drawing, and I'm going to create this as what's called an annotative block, which means that even though I change the scale, it will retain its size as an A3 piece of paper. If I didn't do that, every time I change the scale on my drawing, it would change the size of the rectangle I've created, so I'd never know if my drawing would fit on an A3 piece of paper. So to do that, we go to the Insert tab. What we're going to do is to create from here, we want to create a block. Pick point wise, we'll go for 0, 0, 0. Give it a name, give it something sensible, so I'm going to call mine an A3 landscape paper. So if we now select our objects, and for me I'm just going to select the rectangle, hit enter, we'll delete it from the drawing. And remember here, do you remember we spoke about annotative? This is where it retains its size even though we change the scale, so I need to make sure I put a tick in that box. I now click on OK, and you'll see here that it will disappear from the drawing, so I've clicked on OK. Now what I'm now going to do is to keep changing the scale until my drawing will fit inside that rectangle. We change the scale of the drawing here. By clicking on this down arrow, you can see here full size 100% is 1 to 1, 50% will be 1 to 2, 25% will be 1 to 4, etc. So leaving it at 1 to 1, we simply go across to Insert. You can there see my A3 piece of paper, which is the block I've just created. So when I click on OK, it's attached to the cursor, so I can move it round, and you can see quite clearly there that my drawing is not going to fit inside that rectangle. So if I click on Escape to cancel that command, I'm now going to change the scale. So if I change that scale to 50% or 1 to 2, I'm now going to go back up here. I'm going to try again to see if it'll fit in. So Insert, I want an A3 piece of paper, and can you see here, so if I go Insert, A3 piece of paper, can you see here it's retained its size? So if I drag down here, it looks so it'll fit, so I'll place it by just simply left clicking, and then if I zoom out, you can see there quite clearly that my drawing would fit inside the A3 piece of paper in the drawing area if I have my scale at 1 to 2 or at 50%. So I've now set the scale of my drawing to be 1 to 2